Kitco Mining special coverage of BMO's 33rd Global Metals, Mining and Critical Minerals Conference is brought to you by First Majestic Silver.
Filo empties the pot of superlatives. This is Paul Harris of Kitco Mining at the BMO Metals Mining and Critical Minerals Conference in Hollywood, Florida. And joining me today is Jamie Beck, President and CEO, and last year's Kitco Mining CEO of the Year, CEO of Filo Mining, or Filo now, sorry.
Yeah.
Jamie, welcome back to Kitco.
Thanks, Paul.
Now, the drilling results from the Filo del Sol project in San Juan, Argentina continue to impress and drain the pot of superlatives that industry commentators such as myself use. Continue to have great success at Filo del Sol. Congratulations. It's certainly the deposit that keeps on giving. You recently announced another 200-meter extension to the Aurora Zone, capping another great year of drilling results last year. How real is the super pit potential at Filo del Sol becoming?
Great question, Paul. I think, if there's one takeaway that we wanted to focus on a little bit in our last set of results is exactly that. Hole 100 hit a pretty impressive intersection to the west of our current drilling. And I think as you start thinking about how this deposit looks like as a mine, that's a very high impact hole, which has a potential to fill a zone in the deposit where we didn't have any information. And so as you're running concepts around mining shapes here, how does that impact strip ratios? How does that impact how companies might be thinking about a future mining operation up at Filo? So that, extending to the west reduces things like strip ratios. It has the potential to convert mineralization that would be previously considered as waste and maybe start thinking of it as bringing it into a plan. So really impactful.
It must be a tough job being a mine planner at Filo, because every month you come in and say, no, got to start again.
Keep going.
We've got another big extension.
Yeah.
So a luxury problem there. So what are the exploration goals for this year?
Really twofold. We've got a program that sees us drilling this year with 9 drill rigs, about 40,000 meters planned, and 50,000 or sort of 50% of those meters are going to be focused on exactly like what you saw in our last press release, sort of step outs in and around the Aurora Zone as we look towards growing that known part of the mineralization in the deposit. There's a volume of material that's about 6 kilometers cubed that we believe is continuously mineralized from Tamburias in the south through our Bonita Zone in the north. So we're going to work at tightening up the drill spacing and stepping out through that zone and make sure that we can prove that continuous mineralization theme. The other half is going to be on exploration targets. So these are ones that our geologists have looked at in the past that we've never gotten around to drilling, whether that's surface alterations or structural targets that they've come up with. Geophysics targets. We did a big MT survey about 2 years ago and identified a number of conductivity targets at depth that we still have yet to explore. So that forms an area we're calling the Eastern Trend. There's some vein-style deposit or targets off to the northern part of our land package in and around an area we call Marancelis that we're going to put a few holes into this year. So lots of exciting step-out targets beyond the known mineralization, looking for new styles of mineralization or new discoveries.
Last year, you put out an updated pre-feasibility study. You haven't yet put out any resource calculation or estimate on the deep drilling you've done. When can we expect to see an updated resource statement?
Yeah, a good question. And don't hold me to this, but I think we're getting to the point where what we see is a disconnect between, I think, what the investment community and a lot of our sell-side analysts are modeling in terms of size potential and what we internally think as size potential. And hopefully within the next 12 to 18 months of drilling, we're going to be in a position to get a number out there and release our sort of initial estimate on the sulfide resource. And I anticipate that to be quite exciting.
Okay. Now, Filo's drill results have been spectacular over quite a long period of time now. But if anything, it is possible. You've been eclipsed recently by some of the results from your sister company, NGEx Resources, just 6 kilometers down the road at its Lunahuasi target. Some incredible grades coming out of there. What does that say to the overall potential of the district you're both in?
Just spectacular, right? I mean, eye-popping numbers. I was talking to Wojtek about it over dinner the other night, and we were, laughing a little bit, sort of the theoretical limits at how much metal fluids can be carrying and what kind of event must have happened at Lunahuasi to have it sort of deposited all at once and in such strong grades. At the end of the day, Filo is an asset that stands on its own and head and shoulders above sort of what else is out there broadly in the district. The challenge with the sort of high-grade vein-style deposit, that he's got is it likely guides a mining method towards underground, but perhaps a little bit smaller scale. Now that's changing a little bit. You saw at the bottom of some of his holes, he's starting to piece together some longer intervals, and perhaps that leads to some bulk tonnage, but certainly it doesn't change, I think, our thinking now. Filo, remains that key asset within the district that has the potential for 50, 60, 70 years of production. It has that size and that scale in addition to the grade, which really drives being able to weather the ups and downs of commodity cycles over time.
Taking that into account, Jamie, how is the company's thinking evolving about the next steps, or how are you looking to take this forward into production, and with whom?
Yeah, I think one of the key aspects of the Lundin Group and the Lundin family is always advancing projects, moving them forward. And in many, I guess, companies of our size, you'd see the challenge of a giant Andean porphyry and the capex that comes along with that as a pretty significant hurdle towards development. But what we have at Filo is really unique. We've got strong financial backers in the Lundin family and BHP who are on our share register, and we've got options. So the oxide project that we updated our pre-feasibility study in 2023 still remains a really valuable and viable project that is at a much reduced capital number and offers us an option to start small and then potentially use the cash flow from that oxide project to grow into something much, much larger. So we're not sitting here waiting for a sale or putting the for sale sign out on the company. That said, I think this size of resource, the strategic nature of this district, it lends itself to all of the major companies out there looking for how they're going to grow their copper exposure. And fortunately, we've got big shareholders in the Lundin family that allows us to sort of control our own destiny there. And I'm sure, if there was some kind of transaction along the way, that positioning makes sure that our shareholders will get adequately compensated.
Well, let's talk a little bit about timing now. I know the Lundin family has been in and around the district for 20, 25 years, so there's certainly some patience there. But as you continue to explore and move the project forward, what's the potential timing looking like in terms of acting on the PFS you put out last year and taking those steps towards production?
We're still squarely in the discovery phase right now, Paul, and I think every mining company or exploration company at our stage is constantly looking at that. And we view our programs on an annual basis. We're continually taking a look at how do the results influence our thinking. Does it make sense for us to continue exploring? Do we see opportunities to add substantial value to the deposit or the company through continued exploration? Or have we sort of found that it's time to start thinking about transitioning towards development and setting milestones for how we want to move the project forward? So we continue to look at that, and I think as long as we see really high impact options to explore and real value to be created through the drill bit, we'll keep drilling. And inevitably in every project there is that turning point where, okay, now you've learned enough about it, you've got a sense of the scope and scale of what you've got, and it's time to start thinking about development.
Let's talk a little bit about Argentina in general, if I may. The Malay government, the Malay administration really wants to encourage foreign direct investment. He really wants to create jobs. He really wants to create taxes. mining projects such as Filo del Sol will eventually become, certainly aligns with his vision for the country. What's your feeling, and what are you hearing about the Milei government? Is it going to be good for mining?
Cautiously optimistic, for sure. I think, Adam and Jack Lundin were both down in Argentina and had a chance to meet with President Milei in early January. That meeting went incredibly well. I can't have sort of said it any better than your introduction there. He sees the mining industry as a key driver of potential economic growth in the country and wants to encourage that foreign investment. And I think is saying all the right things in terms of changing the fiscal terms in country to encourage that type of investment. So certainly optimistic on where things are going, and what we need to see now, of course, is action from some of those words and some of those concepts. And he'll have a bit of a learning curve, I'm sure, as he navigates this new position in politics. But we remain cautiously optimistic that mining can play a key role in economic growth in Argentina.
And one of those actions may be a tax stability agreement for your sister company, Lundin Mining, which they're negotiating for the development of the Jose Maria project, which is, 11 kilometers from where you are. What are you hearing from your sister company about how those discussions are progressing? Is the kind of tax stability agreement that's presumably taking shape, is that going to be a positive thing for development?
Yeah, I think it's going to be positive for the entire industry, whether it's Lundin Mining advancing at their project at Jose Maria, or Glencore advancing their plans at Mara. We're starting to see some of the bigger companies dip their toes into Argentina and think about advancing these projects under fiscal stability, which is a fundamental right under the existing mining law. It's actually quite good as it stands in Argentina. So this is really just setting exactly what the corporate income tax rates are going to be, what the export tax rates are going to be that apply to the project. And that's one part of it. And we're keen to sort of ride on the coattails of those that go before us. Hopefully that regime settles in on something that makes sense for mining investment in Argentina, and we'll be able to have that same type of regime applied to Filo del Sol when it eventually comes online.
Okay. I'd like to ask you about water as well. Having lots of copper is great, but mining requires water. You're up in the mountains. Large part of the area is very much a desert environment. What's the process in Argentina like to secure water rights, that kind of thing? Yeah.
It's a great advantage actually being in Argentina for us, largely because there remains access to continental water. So we worked in combination with Jose Maria during our pre-feasibility study work as we defined the underground water source. Jose Maria is a great example. That's a fully permitted mine that's planning on using groundwater for their freshwater needs for the operation. So that's the base case. I think we're also quite, sensitive to the fact that the water resource is a hot button issue, and potentially political winds can change in that regard. And so it's always good to think about backup plans. And when you look at some of the work that Lundin Mining has done in the district more broadly, on the Chilean side, they have a desalination facility that services their Candelaria operation in Copiapó. And as you move up the corridor towards our projects, there's the Caserones operation, there's an existing pipeline. So there may be longer term concepts whereby we could look at expansion of that Lundin Mining facility and think about opportunities to get desalinated water up to the projects. We had good meeting between the governors of both the San Juan province and Region 3 in Atacama in Chile about these types of cross-border sharing of infrastructure items, things like power lines, transportation corridors, and seawater potential access. And it certainly was something that was on the table. So we've got plan A as groundwater, and we've defined the resources, and then plan B if we need to rely on that as a backup.
Would that plan B come under the auspices of the binational mining treaty between Argentina and Chile, or would water be something separate and perhaps need an additional agreement between Argentina and Chile?
Yeah, I think those details to be worked out. Certainly being part of that binational agreement, which we are right now, provides that type of framework of sharing of infrastructure resources.
Okay. So, Jamie, a lot going on. I think you said 9 drill rigs turning at the moment. Where do you want Filo to be at the end of the year?
I hope we can deliver on our objectives. I think we're showing good progress on that so far. Our plan is to grow the known size of our resource as it sits between Tamborias through Bonita to the north in that 6 kilometer cube volume. I hope we're successful at one or two of these big exploration step outs and make a new discovery. And as Filo continues to grow, I think the scarcity of assets like ours that have size, that have scale, and have grade will just come to be increasingly important in a world where there's a dearth of new copper projects.
Well, I wish you additional success at Filo del Sol, Jamie.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Paul.
And this is Paul Harris of Kitco Mining at the BMO Metals Mining and Critical Minerals Conference in Hollywood, Florida. And if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe. Kitco Mining special coverage of BMO's 33rd Global Metals Mining and Critical Minerals Conference is brought to you by First Majestic Silver.